past me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming in from the side and going behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I've never seen rain like I mentioned at one time, and one of the stories my wife wants me to tell you is we had the aircraft grounded for over 21 days, flying nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even go to a drizzle. It just steadily poured for 21 days. And the guys came in that morning and they said, "You read the scriptures?" I said, "Well, yeah, a little bit." "How long did it take the Lord to flood the earth?" I said, we got a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, he opened up the earth and the water flushed out. And I said, we got a little bit. And a little while later that afternoon, an aircraft landed on our field. And it was our sister unit from down in Phuket. Well, in Vietnam, the country's long and narrow. And when you get by the coast, you have the lowlands. You get up in the highlands where you got the highlands. And there's two passes to get in there. You got the Mang Yang Pass before you get to An Khe, and then you got the An Khe Pass dropping down into the lowlands. And this fool had come up and low-leveled through both passes, and then low-leveled the road all the way into us. And we had nothing flying. Neither was the Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, my guys came in that morning and were placing bets in the back room. Was I going to cave? Was I going to give in to these commanders? And I was literally telling them that if they want to go someplace, they could take their Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember I told you the MPs didn't go out and secure the roadway?
Right.
Well, if he's going to take his Jeep, he better take the tanks with him and something else. It was that bad. And I tried talking to this young W1, and that's first rank coming off flight school.
Right.
So they got W1, W2, W3, W4 at that time. And I was a W2. And he literally told me I was yellow.
Mm-hmm.
He literally told me I was an old man and I needed to turn in my wings. And one of my biggest regrets from Vietnam was I didn't send a mechanic out to disable his aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
I told him if he'd stayed, I'd take the flak. I'd say I forbid him to take off. All he's got to do is say, runways, airport's closed, he couldn't leave.
Yeah.
He wouldn't listen. I told him at least call Mang Yang Pass to let us know he was there, because once it goes through, we can't maintain radio contact with him. He went out, and we didn't hear anything, and we didn't hear anything, and we didn't hear anything. Phone rang, picked it up. Guard post in the pass. There's a OH-58 tail boom there and a fire. Do we have anything flying? Because we got the 58s.
Mm-hmm.
13 of 20 of them that are in all of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately called group headquarters and told the old man there was a 58 down and burning in the Mang Yang Pass. I was going to the crash site. If he wanted to go, be here in 5 minutes. I wasn't going to wait for him. We readied the aircraft and I left. I flew and landed at the crash site. Later, when we recovered the stuff there, they put everything but the tail boom in 2 bushel baskets. They hit so hard, they pulled the seatbelt anchors right out of the floor. Near as they can tell, they landed at an artillery fire base just before the pass. Mm-hmm. And they picked up some paint there. The aircraft was full. There was the commander, his first sergeant, the pilot, and somebody else they picked up. The people in the pass said they'd saw him open the door and throw something out. There was paint on a few of the pieces they picked up and put in. They suspected that somebody may have been smoking and set the paint on fire, and he may have thrown the can of paint out the door. Don't know. But if you think of a river going, a creek or a river going down through rapids in a rapid area, you know how you see the white water and you see the bubbling, and the passes are like that. And they suspect that the pilot's attention was diverted and that he may have been trying to circle in the pass and got caught in a downdraft, and he just literally flew into the side of the pass. I came up off of there where he had crashed, turned around, and was going back and located what looked like another crash site. Reported it, and they found a crash site of an 086 that had went down a little over a year ago. Identified that by the pistol and by the dog tags. And that one had just disappeared. I was flying back to our base, and the group commander with me says, "You're getting kind of short." I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "When are you going to quit flying?" I said, 7 days before I'm due to leave like everybody else. He says, "No," he says, "you're grounded now." I says, "What?" He says, "You're grounded now." I says, "You want to take the controls?" He says, no, when we get to the base, you're grounded. He wouldn't even let me start an aircraft up on the pad. He wouldn't let me do anything. He wouldn't let me even get near the aviation section. 23 days before I was due to leave. The longest time I spent in Vietnam was the last 23 days.
Okay.
And I mean, I didn't hang out at the pool. I didn't. The warrant officer from personnel called me at one point, and he says, "Would you like to carry some orders?" I says, "What?" He says, "We got some orders, got to go to a couple bases and that." And he says, "They got to be hand carried." He says, "You want to hand carry some orders and some intelligence reports and stuff?" "Yeah." So I go over to the Air Force Base and grab C-130 and fly someplace and did a little of that before I was due to leave. But long time. You'd rather work. You'd rather get shot at. You'd rather be doing something. But it's my biggest regret. That kid.
Yep.
He young, dumb, and I know what happened. The commander talked him into flying. And he didn't have the brass to stand up to him and say no. I mean, I was putting up with it every day. When he landed at our base, our phone went nuts. Every commander on the base was calling me. Anybody with any rank, company commanders were calling me. "I want to go to," "We're not flying anything." "I heard an aircraft." "We're not flying anything." He flew out, and my comment to them all the time was, "Who's dying?" And they'd say, "What?" "No sense flying and trying to risk death if somebody ain't dying. This is not the weather to be flying in." And I'll fly if somebody's, if there's a good reason. If there's combat-wise, like I said, I did that one piece between Pleiku and Dragon Mountain, opposite sides of the same road, and didn't see the aircraft. Do what's got to be done. But just to go up there and do an inspection, or to go jaw-jack with somebody, or use your radio. Use a voice secure rig. Talk to them. I mean.
Okay.